let's just be honest. We all like toxicity to an extent. And I hate to say that. Because we all want to have pure souls. We all want to live purely, but we live in a world that's full of temptations and distractions. And this is what causes the consistency of repeating trauma and toxicity. And because of our like towards this and how we were taught to live, we have a tendency to forget that our toxicity can make us oblivious to what we allow into our lives and what we allow ourselves to become. But here's the thing. Because we are fed so much information, so much distraction, so much temptations, there is a way to transmute that into healthy avenues, healthy habits, in order to attract healthy things into your life for your divine living in your divine purpose. So on today's video, we're into understanding toxicity and health, and actually how to use both these energies to create transmutations in love and friendships and career and every area of life. Gooch, beautiful beings. Welcome back, boo-boos, AwakenOnes, on another episode on Embracing the Central Series with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I am an intuitive shaman, healer, and psychic tarot reader. On this channel, I speak about spiritual development, emotional awareness, and I do guided readings for each zodiac sign. And I talk about things I feel need to be talked about because our divine right to know more than what we've been told. And what we have been told is to degrade our health and to accept little and to settle for less. Now, if you're all about self-love, self-care, and diving into bettering your spirituality and strengthening it, then you have come to the right place. If you want to know any more of my information, any more about me, all that information will be down in the description box below. So don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button so you won't miss out on any videos. But just know, beautiful beings, that where you are in life, when you start to recognize all the things that you have allowed into your life, it causes you to forget your part that you play in. And I say this because a lot of us, we get to a point in our lives as we grow older, we start to recognize the things that aren't healthy for us. And through going through this revelation, we have a tendency to forget to take accountability for how far we have come in life and why we are where we are, either happy or unhappy. And a lot of people forget to take accountability, and this is where our toxicity can make us oblivious towards what we allow into our lives and what we allow ourselves to become. Now, like I said, it's not your fault that you were born into a world that gives you so much temptation and so much distractions, but I will tell you, it is your responsibility to make sure that you don't dive in and become of this world. And what I mean by of this world is that you become what the world consumes you to be, rather than you knowing your worth, learning yourself to build the character that you truly want to be in your heart. Our toxicity can make us fall into bad habits, into bad relationships, to bad careers, and actually make us become so bitter that we feel that life is against us, to the point that we end up just hurting people because we are hurt. And this only comes from the lack of accountability towards what has happened into your life. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault that you probably were born in trauma and shit has happened to you. But you can't keep blaming that trauma and that pain and all that you've been through as you grow older and use it as an excuse for the reason why you aren't where you want to be in life. And I know this is a hard pill to swallow. Trust me. This was a hard pill to swallow for me, like the other day, right? I'm going to share a story with you guys. The other day, my whole intention for this video is to share with you guys to recognize your toxicity and to become self-aware, where you're not judging yourself, but you're shining a light on what is not serving you, so you can actually transmute that darkness into what is actually going to serve your soul. not just your ego. So the other day, I really had to recognize, why is it that I don't have certain strong friendship bonds with people? And I started to realize how even though I can start a friendship bond, it could go wonderful for months. And then all of a sudden, out of the third month, the fourth month, I start getting a little bit anxious. I start lacking trust. I start questioning people's motives. I start seeing red flags. I start judging very easily, very quickly. And I had to start recognizing, like, wow, I keep allowing toxic people in my life. But I had to really switch it around. This time, I did the one thing that I haven't done in order for me to recognize why I don't have certain strong bonds in relationships or friendships. And I had to recognize, and this is what I recognized, and I had to question myself. Am I the toxic one instead? And that's some deep shit I had to recognize within myself. And that takes a lot of courage to take accountability just like that. And when I share this with you, this is not to brag or to boast, because a lot of people like to brush things under the rug, brush their responsibilities, brush their own toxicity under the rug, to the point that they think it's cool to be, in a way, I hate to say it, but when people who are toxic, they act like they're broken, they act like they can't change. And living that way, having a mindset that way, it just causes you to be arrogant. It causes you to lack the maturity to take ownership of your own life, your own thinking, and your own way of being. And that's what I don't want you guys to stray into. I have family members who are like this, who blame what happened to them at 10 years old, 5 years old, in their 30s, and they don't have a job. They're still asking parents for money, This is not to judge, because people have their own path, they have their own journey. But what I'm sharing with you today is that to become aware of your toxicity, meaning how do you show up in relationships? How do you show up in friendships? How do you show up in career? How do you show up for yourself? Is it in a toxic manner or is it in a healthy manner? Toxic ways when it comes to self-image is you having low self-esteem and feeling inadequate. That is and I hate to say that, because why is that toxic? It's toxic because it makes you neglect yourself to the point that you will allow anything into your life that resembles and reflects that neglection within yourself. Now, the way that you see toxicity when it comes to relationships is where you're emotionally unavailable, controlling, it's hot and cold, can't make up your mind, wishy-washy, or you just don't know what you want. That is a way of toxicity. Or you're codependent, you have abandonment wounds, you rely on another person for your happiness, or you just have a strong attachment style, which makes you clingy, or you have a strong avoidance style, which makes you run from intimacy. Those are other forms of toxicity, manipulations, all that. Now, toxicity in friendships is where you're consistently gossiping, judging, making fun of a person. And, that's one example I shared with you guys just now, is that I had to realize that my own concept of friendships came from my parents, came from my mother, came from the feminine side of my mom's side, where there's so much jealousy when it comes to women, so much, hatred, so much judgment, so much gossiping. And I had to realize that toxicity within myself. But reflecting on that, I was able to transmute and start recognizing what I appreciate about people and what they do for me, so I could recognize what is a true friendship and not. This is all about building discernment towards your toxicity and how to transmute them so you could take accountability and create better, healthy habits. Now, beautiful beings. Now, and another form of toxicity when it comes to career. Before we get into career, I want to talk about family. Your own family could be your own demise and your own karmics, your own karma. And I say this because the people that care about you the most can hurt you the quickest, hurt you the most. So the one thing I want to share with you when it comes to toxicity in family is that don't accept People who put you down. Don't accept people that gaslight you. And I know this could be our parents. This could be people we love the most, and you feel like you're obligated to take care of them, but you're not obligated to make yourself feel guilty for who you are. And that is a form of toxicity, is abandoning yourself for other, which most people do in family dynamics. Now, other forms of toxicity when it comes to career is that you are a manager, you have a high level position, but you lack leadership skills to the point you only do for you and you don't care about other people. Or you're in a place where you don't know how to put your foot down and speak up about your ideas or how you feel because you believe that you are not important. That's another form of toxicity when it comes to career, is you not stepping up, showing out, and going after what you want. And I shared all those examples of former toxicities in those areas of your life because once you could recognize little subtle things that create disalignments that aren't fitting and resonating with your spirit, then this is the time for transmuting all of that awareness into accountability, into actually starting taking action towards creating and implementing what you have transmuted. So let's get into that, you guys. Homegirl got a message and I got a reply. Yes, boo-boo. I'm like, yeah, I'm alone too. But beautiful beings, let's get into how to start transmuting toxicity into healthy habits. And I'm so excited to share with you guys because if you haven't watched my theme of the week is all about transmuting toxicity in relationships, in self, and now through every area of your life. So I'm going to start doing a theme of the week to assist you guys on your spirituality and your emotionality and just your overall self-empowerment. So other than that, you beautiful beings, if you enjoyed the theme of the week, please let me know what theme you would like me to do of the week that you feel will help you in your life start to make better decisions. So other than that, you beautiful beings, let's dive into how can you transmute toxicity into healthy habits. Here is the number one thing that is the hardest thing to do, and that is to recognize what needs to change. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. A lot of people want to hear this because what you're really changing is not only you're changing your identity, you're changing this false belief that made you become your self-defense mechanisms that only helped you to survive, but it's helped you really create this paradigm of who you thought you were into becoming a person that made you forget who you're really meant to be. And I know that sounded really confusing, but what I mean by this is that, when you are wanting to make changes in your life, you're making changes from your parents, from your ancestral line. And that is a huge, massive shift to make. Because when you're making changes for your bloodline. You're making changes for your spirit, for your DNA. And this causes a lot of anxiety towards your purpose, towards what is true for you. But the way to transmute toxicity into health is by first realizing what needs to change and allowing that change to take place. Little do you know, when you decide to make a healthy decision for yourself, the universe backs you up 100%. And it's all because it knows what's best for you until you recognize what is best for you. Now, the second way to transmute toxicity into health in order to attract better things into your life is by recognizing what areas in your life are you allowing yourself to settle? Meaning that when you are receiving some form of treatment that you feel like is a disrespect to your soul, when you feel that, what area in your life that you need to change that's going to go from disempowerment to empowerment? Meaning that instead of allowing your soul to feel disrespected, stand up for yourself, know your sovereignty, and speak up. Use your voice, use your heart, use your vessel to take up space and make yourself known. Express your light, your truth, who you are. And that's why a lot of people don't want to transform their toxicity into health, because it requires them to see the best parts of themselves. Ain't that some crazy shit? The reason why we settle and stay in toxic things and do toxic things is because we believe we aren't deserving of better, and we believe we don't have the power to create that betterment. Now, the last way to transform toxicity and to transmute toxicity into health is by allowing yourself to recognize that you don't have to be all the things society tells you to be. Now, for me, for example, you guys, don't get me wrong. Back in my days, man, was I... people would consider it a manhole. I used to pick up ladies. I was a flirt. I had money. I always looked good. I had the new kicks. I always was fresh. I was fresh, you guys. I was that person people wanted to be because I was so in my ego. And that's what happens. We're so delved into the ego, so delved into the toxicity, to the point that I allowed that to become my identity. And I became an asshole. I was passive. I was controlling. I was manipulative. And all these ways have showed me who I despised. And I despised how my parents treated me. I despised how my family treated me. I despised everyone that inflicted pain on me. But I became the very thing that hurt me. And because of this, I had to really recognize that, you know, this is not who I am. This is what I was taught. And it hurt me because I realized I missed out on great relationships. I could have been a better friend. I could have been a better spouse. I could have had a better career. I could have been where I wanted to be in life. But you can't get down on yourself when you're unconscious of your own toxicity. But when you become aware of it, you have to take responsibility in how you're going to transmute it in order to create different results in your life. You have the results in every area of your life because of the toxicity that you repeat, because you think that's what you allow. When I started to recognize that this is not who I wanted to be, yes, I knew the change was going to be hard. I knew transforming to a whole new identity was going to require me to recognize who I don't want to be anymore. And that's painful, to see the parts of ourselves we don't really consider lovable. But when I started to recognize that I am lovable, when I started to recognize that I was unconscious and, you know, I built this for survival, then I realized, you know what, I do have the power to make this change. I do have the power to transmute all of this into what is healthy for me. And to me, for example, don't get me wrong, you guys, I like going out, I like clubbing, I like drinking, I like partying, but I'm not all about trying to find someone to hook up with. I'm not trying to chase relationships. I'm not trying to be seen at work. I don't want to be a part of the crowd. I had to recognize that I was trying to chase and be a part of the crowd and try to fit in because I thought that was the thing to do. But when I started to realize this toxic way of neglecting myself, of being someone I'm not, I started to recognize what my soul needed. I started to recognize what my heart desired. My heart desired people who love being around me, people who love to communicate deep things that make them think, that make them challenge themselves, that make them question life. I love, you know, being around people who don't allow the temptations of the world to make them become of it, you know? When I started to recognize these parts about myself, I started to realize how toxicity was so unattractive to me. I started to realize how my toxic ways was not who I really am. I started to realize everything I've created in my life was because of I was like my mom, I was like my dad, I was like everyone around me, but I didn't know how to be me. And that is a way to transform your toxicity to health, is by recognizing, who do you really want to be? Who are you really behind closed doors? And that's when you can start making the subtle shifts on what is not serving you into what is serving you. Now, if you're someone who likes where you are, even though you know it's hurting you, now you really got to find the power to put your energy and your focus into what is going to give you that drive, that spark that toxicity gives you. You got to seek that into something that's healthy for you. Probably through your creativity, probably through your art, your music. If you don't know what you're good at, then that is your job to find out. The reason why we are in toxicity, because we put our focus on the things that aren't good for us instead of putting the focus on what can build us. So beautiful beings, that is my form of transmuting toxicity into health. And I hope everything I shared with you has caused you to become activated into becoming more self-aware and writing things down about what you recognize in your own habits, in your own ways, what you allow, what you tolerate, what you don't allow, what you know you need to allow, what you need to set a boundary for. And I really hope that this helps you start realizing how to create subtle shifts in order to attract better things into your life. So beautiful beings, if you are wanting to dive more into this transmutation, then all my information is down in the description box below to book an appointment with me today. Now, other than that, you beautiful beings, I really hope this assisted you guys. I really do have to get going, but I love you guys dearly and so much. And I really hope this was of service to your journey and to your being. But until then, guys, I will see you on the next one.